Using a 10mm wrench, we're going to go ahead and disconnect our battery terminals. And set those aside. Now on the inside of your car, you want to go ahead and pull that lever to release the trunk. Go ahead and open up the trunk. And on the left-hand side, we have our seat back release. Go ahead and release that. Let's go ahead and push that back seat down. Now inside the trunk here, you're going to locate your third brake light. What you could do is we can twist and remove the whole harness with the bulb and just let that hang there. Using a 19mm socket, let's go ahead and remove our lug nuts. Take your wheel, remove it, and set it aside. So we're going to use our 14mm gear wrench, and we're going to use an Allen wrench on this side here to hold the center shaft from spinning. Let's go ahead and loosen this nut. So we did apply some rust penetrant to this here to help us get this nut off of here. Work that link off with our bracket for our brake flex hose, and we just pivot this down out of the way. We're going to use our 17mm socket and ratchet to go ahead and loosen and remove our lower strut bolt here. On the inside, you're going to locate your coat hook. Pull that down. There's a Phillips head screw right up inside there. Just going to go ahead, loosen and remove that screw. Now right here we have our plastic button right here, the side curtain airbag. You want to go ahead and get your pry tool between the plastic button and the metal locking clip. You don't want to get behind the metal locking clip. We basically want to release this plastic clip here. Pop that off. And I want to go ahead and pull this retaining clip. This will probably pop out with our panel. So let's go ahead and reach up here. We're going to grab our trim panel. Pry down. We're going to work our way down, separating this unit. Once you pull this out, go ahead and repeat for the driver's side. Now across the back here, there's going to be 3 plastic buttons. You can just reach back and pull these forward. Next step you want to do is take your seat belt. I'm going to work that seat belt out. Now I want to go ahead and lift up on this rear package tray here. And there's a series of plastic buttons underneath. Try and pop these up and out. Once we get these buttons released, we'll go ahead and pull this whole trim panel out. Now there's a harness right here, has a white connector on it. We're just going to use our pick. Going to press up on that. Disconnect that like so. And go ahead and remove that cover. Using a 14mm socket and extension, and go ahead and loosen and remove these nuts. I want to go ahead and use our dead blow hammer, and we're just going to go ahead and hit the strut. We want to push this off of our knuckle here. Now our strut is in here a little bit tight. The strut doesn't want to release from the knuckle. So what we're going to do is use a large pry bar. We're going to go between the back part of the control arm and right here, and we're going to pry down while trying to pop this free. We're going to go ahead and flex our suspension down. Tilt this down. I want to go ahead and work this down without hitting the body. I'm going to go ahead and compress our spring. At this point here, our strut is now separated from our spring, so we're going to go ahead and loosen and remove our upper strut nut. In order to remove this here, we're going to use our 14mm gear wrench and put our Allen in the top here. Let's go ahead and remove this nut. At this point here, we want to be able to get ready to catch the strut, remove the nut, and we can work our strut out from the bottom. Take our washer out from the top here. And on the top of our upper plate here, we have a metal insert. We're going to use a punch and then pop that out. The sleeve in our lower bushing popped out with that. Next, we want to get this bushing out. We want to identify that the concave side is facing down and the concave on this was facing upward from the bottom with the sleeve in the middle. Install your bellow boot onto the strut. You want to make sure that the bellow with the isolator lines up with the coil spring tray here. We took our metal sleeve, put a little bit of grease on it, and we're going to slide this into our bushing here. Get that started and push it down flush with that. Once that's on, slip that on top of your strut, and let's install the strut up and into the coil spring. You want to rotate your strut so that the notch right here lines up with the pigtail or the end of your spring over here. So you're going to rotate this here. And then on the top, we're going to put a little bit of grease. We're going to install our bushing with the concave part facing down. I'm going to work that down onto that sleeve. I'm going to install our washer here, followed by the nut. Let's go ahead and tighten this down. Before we release the compression on the coil spring itself, we want to make sure that this pigtail fits right into this notch here, so we can position the strut like this. I'm going to slowly lower the unit down. Once that spring tension has been completely released, we can then disassemble the tool and remove the strut. Let's go ahead and feed our strut into the top here. We have our pry bar. We're going to use our pry bar to move our control arm down, allow us to get this into place. Drop this down and in. Now I want to go ahead and get the upper portion of the strut up in place, as well as try and get the lower part of the strut around the Sweber end link mounting bracket and onto the knuckle. Let's go ahead and try and manipulate the strut up top. Feed that up and into the body. And have to reposition our pry bar to the other side of the strut. At this point here, we're able to get our strut sitting on top of the knuckle. That helps apply some upward pressure on our strut, getting the bolts to poke up through the top. Let's hop inside the vehicle, get the two nuts started, and get those torqued down. Let's go ahead and install the nuts on the top of the strut. With those on there, let's go ahead and snug those down. Now at this point, we can go ahead and torque these nuts down to 41 foot-pounds. Go ahead and bring our rear package tray back up and into place. And slowly feed this back. Now there are plastic push pins on the back side of this. You want to go ahead and look through these holes, through your latch holes here. You'll be able to see those plastic pins, line those up. Once those are lined up, push down on the cover and those will snap into place. Make sure that you get your seatbelt fed through. And on the back side here, we have our harness we need to connect. So just simply line that up, press it in until you hear it click, and tuck that wire in on the side. I'm gonna make sure that you get these buttons snapped into place. Now on the tail end of your trim here, you have this connector right here. This needs to fit into the body. Press that down, and then the rest of this will pop up and into place. If you want, you can pop out this little bracket and make it a little bit easier to line up. Install your side airbag button right here. Snap that into place. And reinstall your Phillips head screw up inside this pillar. Let's go ahead and use our pry bar. Going to get that into our upper control arm. And we're just going to apply some downward pressure. We're going to work this strut up and into place on our knuckle. Once we have that in the area there, we're going to go ahead and get that bolt started. Now we did clean up the threads on that bolt. Put some anti-seize compound on there. And go ahead and get that snug down. Now remove your pry bar. Go ahead and torque this bolt to 47 foot-pounds. Okay, bring our flex line down. Bring our sway bar end link up. It's going to install the nut. Go ahead and torque the nut to 33 foot-pounds. Let's go ahead and install your wheel. Get our lug nuts all started by hand. And then once these are on, we'll go ahead and snug them down. Let's go ahead and torque our lug nuts down to 80 foot-pounds. You can go ahead and install the bulb up into your third brake light, put it in, and twist it and it'll lock into place. Go ahead and flip up your seat. You can install your terminals. and snug these down. Go ahead and get your ground installed and do the same here.